watching the Weekend Warriors Fantasy Show with your host, Edward 40 Hands and Newton's Turtles.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Warriors Weekly, brought to you by Ozarka Water, providing coolant to your broken water pumps since 1905.
Pictures to come.
We're your hosts. I'm Newton Turtles.
And I'm Edward Forte Hands. First off, we got a lot of exciting news from around the league, including our upset pick alerts for Week 2. Well, first, let's get started with the explosion of offense out of Run Regin's run in Week 1, putting up a whopping 118 points, good enough for second highest in the league. Only problem was he was going against the guy who scored the most points. Team Better Luck next year put up an amazing 138.5 points, overtaking Regin's efforts. It's a tough break for Regin's.
Now our next order of business is a strong 1-0 start out of the Brady Bunch, who started a poor 0-6 last year. It's a big turnaround for him. We'll see how that plays out.
The Canis brothers are projected for the Small Wing Piece Award and the Big Chief Award here in Week 2. Derek taking home the perennial Small Wing Piece Award, and his older brother Justin taking home the Big Chief Award. Only time will tell how that plays out.
And now let's get to some trade talk. First, the nice guys finished second have offered up all of his bench players for the trade block. So if you want to cough up a cheap running back, you know who to contact. Now a big multiplayer blockbuster deal did go through this week, and the GM received Ryan Matthews and Owen Daniels. TDs and beer got Alfred Morris, Malcolm Floyd, Jonathan Dwyer, and Greg Olson. Now there was some controversy surrounding this trade, and I quote, handing Ryan Matthews over for a six-pack and a free ticket to last place. Now, Mr. 40 Hands, I must get your opinion on this issue.
It solely depends on the type of beer that was a six-pack.
And there you have it. And now let's welcome in the GM for the weekly drops and ads.
While the waiver wire is without Kevin Ogletree, Stephen Hill, and Alfred Morris, there's still some value at the wide receiver, quarterback, and DST categories. Green Bay receiver James Jones, who finished with 16 fantasy points in Week 1, is surprisingly still available. While Rodgers tends to spread the wealth, Jones is a guy that's capable of scoring 12 points on one play. He's a decent start if either Jennings or Jordy Nelson miss any time this season. At the quarterback position, Mark Sanchez and Alex Smith, who scored 26 and 21 points respectively in Week 1, are worthy of a pickup. They may not be of starter caliber, but they're both a respectable starter to play during bye weeks. If you're looking for a few decent DST matchups, the Chargers are a great play against a Tennessee offense that, well, couldn't do much of anything in Week 1. If injured second-year quarterback Jake Locker decides to play, the Chargers are almost guaranteed to force turnovers. Also, the Patriots' DST against Arizona is a decent play against an offense with no running game or definitive starting quarterback. This week's drop list includes Rashad Jennings, whose value fell from preseason sleeper to, well, easily droppable. The return of MJD just about renders Jennings as a handcuff at best. If you're expecting a big week out of Isaac Redman, well, you didn't get it. He was easily outplayed by Jonathan Dwyer, who appears to be the Week 2 starting running back. With Rashard Mendenhall's return from a torn ACL on the horizon, I only have one message for Isaac Redman. Welcome to Dropsville. This has been the GM. Back to you guys.
Thanks, GM. Now for our upset picks of the week here in Week 2. My upset pick of the week in the league is going to be TDs and beer over Spiller Thriller.
Now, why do you think that?
Well, Spiller has placed all his surprising players from Week 1 off the bench into starting roles here in Week 2. I'm just not sold on the consistency of some of those players other than Adrian Peterson.
Well, that's a bold strategy, Cotton.
We'll see how it plays out for him. And my upset pick this week in the NFL is the Colts over the Vikings. Andrew Luck collecting his first regular season win as a starting NFL quarterback.
Now my upset picks for the week are the Carolina Panthers over the New Orleans Saints and Run Regin's Run over the Brady Bunch. Now you might have noticed a trend in the bias of our picks. And I ask you, if you don't have confidence in your players, then what do you have?
Tune in for next week's edition of Warriors Weekly. I'm Edward Forte Hands.
And I'm Newton Turtles.
Go fuck yourself, San Antonio.
You've been watching the Warriors